Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take you on a journey through, well, a sea of information, you know, surfacing with the most captivating insights.
Love it.
Today we're going deep into the allegations against Sean Diddy Combs,
Oh, yeah.
a music industry icon whose legacy is, well, facing some serious scrutiny.
Yeah, it's a fascinating and complex situation.
It is.
We have Diddy, who's practically synonymous with, hip hop
Right.
and entrepreneurial success, now grappling with accusations that paint a very different picture.
Exactly. To help us unpack all of this, we have our expert,
Hello.
who's been following this story closely.
Very closely.
Where should we even begin?
Well, I think you got to start with the context.
Okay.
Diddy's arrest back in September 2024
Right.
sent shockwaves through the music world. He was charged with some very serious offenses: sex trafficking, racketeering,
Yeah.
even transportation for prostitution.
Those are some heavy charges.
Yeah.
And for those of you who might not be familiar with all the legal jargon, racketeering basically involves engaging in a pattern of illegal activity as part of an organized enterprise.
Exactly.
It's often used in cases involving organized crime.
Like the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And remember, Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all these charges.
that's right.
The case is still pending and will likely be a lengthy legal battle.
Yeah.
But what makes this situation even more intricate is that former members of the girl group, Danity Kane, are coming forward with their own stories.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not know, Danity Kane was a popular girl group formed by Diddy on the show Making the Band back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, making the
And
best.
they had some big hits, but their relationship with Diddy was notoriously tumultuous.
Tumultuous is a good word for it.
It is.
Yeah. And now Dee Woods, one of the original members,
Right.
is
Yeah.
speaking out. She recently gave an exclusive interview to ABC News and is featured in a new documentary called The Fall of Diddy, airing on Investigation Discovery.
Wow. Okay, so this is what makes this deep dive so compelling.
Sure.
It's not just about the legal charges. It's about the personal experiences of these women who work closely with Diddy.
Absolutely. It's their stories.
Yes.
Dee Woods says she feels like now is the time her truth will be heard and believed.
Wow.
And she's alleging some pretty disturbing behavior on Diddy's part. She describes feeling treated like a piece of meat,
Uh-huh.
suggesting that their sex appeal was prioritized over their talent and artistry.
It's almost like that classic story of the casting couch, where aspiring artists feel pressured to compromise their values to get ahead in the industry.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time, unfortunately.
It really is.
Yeah.
Sadly, we see it play out time and again.
All the time. And Dee Woods also claims that Combs created a verbally abusive work environment,
Yeah.
using his position to undermine their confidence and control their careers.
You have to think about the impact that kind of environment can have on young, vulnerable artists.
Devastating.
It can be incredibly damaging to their self-esteem and their ability to thrive creatively.
You're absolutely right.
But remember, we also need to acknowledge Diddy's side of the story. His attorneys have vehemently denied these allegations,
Of course.
calling them pure fiction and part of a media circus designed to exploit the situation for profit.
Right.
They maintain that Diddy is confident in the judicial process and believes the truth will come out in court. So we have these two contrasting narratives,
Yeah.
and it's important for us as observers to consider both sides.
Always multiple perspectives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while Dee Woods' story is incredibly impactful, she's not alone in making these types of accusations. Dawn Richard, another former member of Danity Kane, filed a lawsuit against Diddy last year.
Oh, wow. There's even more to this.
There is, and this is where it gets really interesting. Richard's lawsuit brings a whole new layer of complexity to this situation.
Oh, yeah.
Her allegations are serious. She claims she endured both sexual and verbal abuse from Diddy over almost a decade.
A decade.
And to add another layer of complexity, she's also alleging unpaid wages.
Unpaid wages.
Wow. So if we connect these two accounts, we see a potential pattern emerging. This isn't just about one isolated incident.
Oh.
It's about a potential pattern of behavior.
A pattern of abuse of power and exploitation, which unfortunately are not uncommon in the entertainment industry.
Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to remind everyone to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of this deep dive.
Yeah.
Now, where were we, right? Dawn Richard. Her lawsuit is a significant development because it provides additional context and corroboration to Dee Woods' allegations.
It really does.
Right. And then we have Aubrey O'Day, yet another former Danity Kane member who has been publicly critical of Diddy for years. When his arrest made headlines, She expressed feeling validated on social media, suggesting she believes the allegations hold weight.
Interesting.
So we have 3 separate individuals,
Wow.
all with their own stories, who are painting a similar picture of Diddy's alleged behavior.
Yeah.
It raises some serious questions about his character and the culture he fostered within his company.
It does. But it's important to remember, though, that at this point, these are still allegations. Diddy is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Absolutely. But the volume and consistency of these accusations are difficult to ignore.
For sure.
They demand a deeper exploration, which is exactly what we're doing here on the Deep Dive.
I'm ready to dive deeper.
Me too.
And this is where the freak-offs come into play.
Right, the freak-offs. We've mentioned this term a few times now, but for those unfamiliar, can you explain exactly what they are?
Yeah, so these freak-offs, as they're being called, are essentially elaborate sex performances that allegedly took place at Diddy's parties and events.
Oh, wow.
According to prosecutors, they involved both male sex workers and women who were either coerced or pressured into participating.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
And these freak-offs are central to the prosecution's case against Diddy, right?
Exactly. They're arguing that these events were not simply consensual gatherings, but orchestrated performances designed to exploit and humiliate the individuals involved.
Right.
This is where the charges of sex trafficking and racketeering come into play.
So how does Diddy's legal team respond to these accusations?
Well, they have a completely different interpretation of these videos.
Okay.
They argue that they actually demonstrate Diddy's innocence, claiming the prosecution's focus on these events is sexist and puritanical.
Wow.
They believe the videos show consensual activity between adults.
So it sounds like this whole case is going to come down to consent and how these freak-offs are interpreted.
Yeah.
Did the participants freely choose to be involved, or were they manipulated and exploited?
Yeah.
It's a really complex and sensitive issue.
It is. It really is. And it's going to be up to a jury to ultimately decide.
Right.
But this case has implications that go far beyond Diddy himself.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. This case is shining a light on the power dynamics that exist within the music industry. You have a figure like Diddy who wields immense power and influence. And then you have these young, aspiring artists who are trying to navigate this complex and often ruthless world.
It's almost like a microcosm of what we've seen happening in Hollywood with the #MeToo movement.
Exactly.
Powerful figures using their position to exploit those who are more vulnerable.
Precisely. And this case could have major implications for how we address issues of exploitation and consent within these creative spaces.
It's also forcing us to confront the question of legacy. Diddy has built this incredible career, this image of success and empowerment. How will these allegations, regardless of the legal outcome, impact how we view him and his contributions to music?
That's a great question. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all unfolds. Will he be able to maintain his iconic status, or will his legacy be forever tarnished by these accusations?
And this is exactly why we do what we do here on The Deep Dive. We take these complex, multi-layered stories and break them down for you, our listeners, so you can form your own informed opinions. If you're enjoying this episode so far, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the most fascinating stories.
Great point.
Now, going back to the case, I think it's also important to acknowledge the courage it takes for these women to come forward with these allegations.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking out against someone as powerful as Diddy takes immense bravery. They're putting themselves out there, risking their careers and reputations in the hopes of holding him accountable and potentially protecting others from similar experiences.
And their stories highlight the importance of believing survivors and creating a culture where they feel safe to speak out without fear of retribution.
This isn't just about Diddy, it's about a systemic issue that plagues the entertainment industry as a whole.
You're absolutely right.
This is such a heavy topic.
Yeah.
I'm curious, from your perspective, what do you think is the most crucial takeaway for our listeners?
I think the most crucial takeaway is that we need to approach these situations with nuance and empathy. There are real people involved with real experiences and emotions.
Right.
We can't just dismiss these allegations as, drama or he said, she said.
Right.
We have to listen to these women, believe them, and support them.
I completely agree. We can't just turn a blind eye to these types of allegations, especially when they involve someone in a position of power. And remember, this is just our analysis, based on the information we have access to. The legal process is still underway, and the outcome is yet to be determined.
Exactly.
But this case is sparking important conversations about power consent and accountability conversations that need to happen, not just in the music industry, but in all aspects of our society.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's interesting how this case seems to be forcing a sort of reckoning, not just for Diddy, but for the music industry as a whole.
Absolutely. We often see these types of stories emerge from Hollywood with the casting couch and the abuse of power. But the music world isn't immune to these issues either.
Makes you wonder how many other stories are out there hidden in the shadows of this glamorous industry.
Right. And that's why it's so crucial to foster an environment where people, especially young and aspiring artists, feel empowered to come forward and share their experiences without fear of judgment or reprisal.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I have to ask, what does this all mean for Diddy? What will be the lasting impact of these allegations, even beyond the legal outcome?
I think this case has the potential to be a real turning point. It's forcing us to have some tough conversations about accountability and the responsibility that comes with power and influence, especially within the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we absolutely need to have. We can't afford to sweep these allegations under the rug or dismiss them as just another celebrity scandal.
Exactly. This isn't just about Diddy's reputation. It's about creating a safer, more equitable environment for everyone in the music industry. It's about respecting boundaries, fostering consent, and ensuring that those who abuse their power are held accountable for their actions.
Well said. And for you, our listener, we always encourage you to stay informed, engage in thoughtful discussion, and form your own opinions based on the available information. Remember, this is a complex situation with multiple perspectives.
Don't rush to judgment, but do stay engaged with the unfolding story. Pay attention to what unfolds in the courtroom, listen to the voices of those involved, and consider the broader implications for the music industry and beyond.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. I hope you found this exploration insightful and thought-provoking. We'll continue to follow this story closely and provide you with updates as they develop.
As always, it's been a pleasure joining you on this journey through the complexities of this case.
And to our listeners, thank you for diving deep with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might be interested in this important and ongoing conversation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.